Welcome back to CFB Nation. I'm your host, Nino Brown. I got my guy, Deep Fried Draft, Brian Bosage. And when you see us on the screen, it's that time. The Garnet Roost, it's coming to that closing time, though, as the season has come to an end. But my guy, how we doing? We got a smile on the face.
We're doing all right. I like that little Dolby surround sound countdown we got there now.
Yeah, kind of spiced it up towards the end. Going to be spotty here and there, but I figured give a little love, give a little vibe to it.
I like that. Yeah, no, it's been a wild few days, man, since the last time we talked. I was fully anticipate we're gonna go out 100% positive. We're ready. Couldn't do it. No. That vibe lasted about maybe 36 hours.
Yeah, it's kind of been the vibe all year. Huh? Every time I think we're going to be positive, somehow, in some way, it just gets turned sour. All right, I'm going to hit you with this last round of rapid fire for the year here. I added an extra one because, the portal's popping, so I got questions. But the main one, did Florida State belong?
Yes.
You hesitated there slightly.
I mean, it's just unprecedented what happened, right? I mean, a Power 5 undefeated team left out. I get it. I get everything they said. I really wonder if they didn't want to come out loud and say it. Was it really the injury to Jordan Travis, or was it the crappy ACC that kept them out?
KT said that to me the other night. He believes that even if Jordan Travis played and they went undefeated, they'd kept him on. I don't believe that. I feel like this was the ultimate scapegoat for them, right?
Maybe. Like I said, I mean,
if Georgia blows them out by 20-something points, then nobody's ever going to talk about this again.
Right. And that's probably what's going to happen.
And that's my thing. It's like, and I said last night, have the sack and just drop them down the week before. As prove it to me. Prove it to me.
That's the thing. Why do you still have them ranked ahead of Georgia?
If they're not good enough to be in the playoff, right?
Right. Then they shouldn't be 6 or 5 or 6 either.
Right.
But my thing is the ACC has no one to blame but themselves here. Mm-hmm. They can act all y'all the ones that didn't want the 12-team playoff this year, big shots.
Yeah.
Oh, let's push it off into the future. Well, guess what? You got screwed. You'd be at Florida State and be going to Pound Town on Liberty here 2 weeks from now. And,
Yeah. No, you're 100%
in Tallahassee. Right. Instead, they're going to be going to, was it the Orange Bowl? And probably going to get smoked.
Yeah. The ACC's always got it wrong. They got it wrong with the media deal. They got it wrong with not going to 1 year early in the 12 team. They just always seem to get it wrong. And I feel like this was the last get it wrong. I think we saw that this is going to be the demise of the ACC. I think it's kind of on a dwindle now.
The demise wasn't when they added Stanford, Cal, and SMU. That wasn't a sign?
Yeah, that was a sign. I feel like them getting snubbed here was like the ultimate, see you later.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right. Tons of coaches are getting axed, plucked from other schools, getting fired left and right. Do we lose anybody in this mass of confusion that's going on?
In the next 3 weeks?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
If somebody was going to leave or somebody was going to be fired for just cause, let's just say, I think it would have happened already. I think they're not going to. I think they're not going to do anything until after signing day.
I'm saying, does anybody get plucked? I'm not saying fired.
No.
Okay. That's.
Let me rephrase it. I hope so. There's some guys I wish that we'd take another Marcus Satterfield away from us. Where you at, Matt Rule? We got a couple other guys here y'all can take away. We can addition by subtraction.
Oh boy, I love it. I love it. All right, talking portal. In or out. That's all I want. All right. I just want to go by the expression on your face when you say it. KJ Jefferson in. Okay.
I think he ends up here.
I think so too. I'm gonna skip the next one. Then we're not gonna need it because I think
he's gonna end up at Kentucky. Vandegrift.
Okay.
That seems to be the word on the street.
I know this is the two schools. Was Kentucky and South Carolina was like the back pocket school, so I was kind of.
Well, South Carolina was hot and heavy. Well, they were one of his main schools that was recruiting, and he ultimately ended up at Georgia. But I think they are a different style of team now.
Yes, I agree.
And I think Vandegrift at Kentucky, though, would be really good. Definitely an upgrade over Devin Leary, right?
I think, and I'll be honest, I think he could be better than Will over there.
Very possible.
Last but not least, you're in on KJ. Are you in on Will Shepherd? Because it seems like no.
Now, hold on. Would I want him here? Absolutely. He's going to end up somebody better.
Listen, I went and did some deep diving.
Okay.
We're looking at like a 50-50 shot right here. He's like really interested.
With who?
With us.
When who?
Will Shepherd.
No. And what other school? What are we competing with here?
Luckily, George is out of the picture because for some reason they want his young counterpart. I don't know why they want the freshman kid. Landon, whatever his name is. So George is out. Texas, I heard. I also heard LSU. So that's my concern. But Juice Wells just came up in the Texas market this morning. So if
I heard Alabama was in on Shepherd, by the way. So the competition's a little steep there. That's why I don't think he ends up there. We're going to talk about some other receivers later that I think they're more than likely to be on than someone like Will Shepherd.
All right. Well, since the boat's been docked, wrapped up, and put away for the season, Harbor Watch is over, but we don't have portal time.
Harbor Watch is still on.
If he's going to be on the team.
For at least another month, Harbor Watch is still on as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, as if the boat's going to get plucked out of the dock. Yeah, I got you. But it's portal time. Talk to me on who's out and how you're feeling about it.
All right, as of right now, there's 13 guys out.
Yikes.
I really think only 2 matter.
Okay.
Of the 13. But 5 of them are wide receivers.
Yeah.
the wide receiver room emptied out in a hurry. It's Will Smith in the last episode of The Fresh Prince in there in that wide. It's Nick Harbor and nobody else.
You're just looking around.
But Juice Wells never actually said he was coming back to South Carolina. He just said he was coming back. But he is in the portal. You mentioned Texas as a possibility. Do what you got to do, man. I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
It goes to show me, though, that he was healthy enough to come back and play.
Yeah, I think he saved himself. He
didn't want to play.
He punched the ticket early.
Yeah, and that's fine. Right. Omega Blank was a surprising one to me. 19 receptions, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns this year. He emerged as one of their, I don't know, second-tier wide receivers that I thought could have contributed a lot more next year had he come back.
I agree.
But he entered the portal. I'm curious as to where he ends up, if he ends up in a sideways situation or even in a lesser situation, for him. But that was a little surprising. The other 3 wide receivers, these are guys that just were, if I had to guess, were told to seek opportunity elsewhere. It wasn't coming here. And that's
Sampson's the only one that I think hurts because he was a special team dude.
Yeah.
So
right.
He was like a leader on a special team. So that's the only one that hurts. The other guys, yeah, I hate it.
But he might be looking like for trying to get more of a receiving.
Right, get more reps. I get you.
More reps that he wasn't going to get here. Kyle Horton, never heard of him. Xavier Short, second-year player, never really played. These guys weren't contributors. Couple of quarterbacks that the writing was on the wall for these guys. I mean, you're bringing in Dante Reno. You've got Lenore Sellers. You're going to bring in a portal quarterback. We just don't know who.
We know.
So Tanner Bailey was a 4-star quarterback out of Gordo High School in Alabama. Colton Gautier, 3-star quarterback out of Dacula, Georgia. They're both in the portal. I expect they'll probably end up at least Tanner Bailey will get a shot at a Sunbelt school somewhere like that, maybe Georgia State somewhere, a similar type school of that. Maybe the most surprising one was Mitch Jeter, other than Juice Wells, the kicker. So he had another year left, and he's leaving. Was a very accurate kicker.
Yep.
Good on the kickoffs. So it's a little surprising, but everything I've read over the last week, there are people just in love, no pun intended, with Mason Love, a true a kicker that's going to be in this recruiting class, saying he's legit, like he's going to be really, really good.
I got a question.
Okay.
How does this happen, right? Like, it got to be some kind of tampering going on. Like, kickers aren't like this hot commodity. So for you to just leave a school where you're the guy, you're accurate, and they rely on you, somebody had to call you, be like, hey, bud, I can make your NIL a little bit bigger or make you have an NIL if you come to this school, because I don't see him saying, you know what? Bama's kicker's going to the pros. I'm going to hit the portal. I think I got a shot. Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem like that's something that's like a hot thing.
Of course there's tampering going on.
I
mean, it's the way of the world now, right? I mean, So Alabama's probably got 7 staffers. That's their whole gig, right?
Hello.
It's making calls, right? Yeah. Back channeling. I mean, they have basically an unlimited recruiting budget at that school.
True.
True. So I mean, and Georgia and those schools, Ohio State's, all those guys. I mean, they've got probably 21, 22-year-old interns there. That's all they do all day. So, but wrapping up this, a few more guys who didn't play a whole lot. Especially these 2 defensive linemen. I mean, you had no depth on this. These guys weren't on the 2 deep. DeAndre Martin, Felix Hickson, DB Isaiah Morris, offensive lineman John Darius Morgan. These guys never played. Kawan Banks did play a little bit on special teams, and he was on the 2 deep off and on, but another guy seeking opportunity elsewhere.
He wants to start, pretty much.
Right. I don't know, like I said, other than something that would come completely out of left field, I don't know of anybody else major that is going to hit the portal. Like I said, I'm tongue-in-cheek talking about Nick Harbor. I think if he was going to go in, he'd be in by now, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think I think guys that are on the fence who thought maybe I'm going to go, maybe I won't go. I think the rumors of people that are possibly coming in that could benefit them, like I think we'll talk about it more on signing day. But like if KJ does come, right? I'm huge on Sellers. You know that I've been huge on him for a year out. I think it's huge for him to sit behind a guy of his kind of similarity, right?
Very similar skill sets.
Yeah, a big arm, mobile, right? Like,
and has been doing it in the SEC for 4 years. Yeah,
you take the hit for that 1 year, and you just, you know what I mean? Like it's set up perfectly for you, right? The driver's seat. Then you get guys, wide receivers, and like Nick Harbor, guys like that. Like, hey, all right, I'm getting a veteran with a big arm. That the system works, and he already knows logging. Maybe I'll stick it out and see what happens. Yeah. What does it hurt? It doesn't hurt me, 1 year, and then I can bounce if it doesn't work. So,
right. And we were talking on Twitter the other day, and you were like, "What's going on? Why are all these receivers leaving?" And I'm like, I'm not worried about it, because you have to look at it like this. Shane Beamer and that whole staff knows if they don't win next year, and the schedule it's rough.
Yeah,
it's rough going next year. I didn't put that in. I meant to put that in the show. But it's they've got to win. So these guys that are taking up space on the 2 deep, they're out on their ass if they don't win next year. And so they've got to get guys in there that are going to help them, win next year.
I got the schedule up in front of me.
I just pulled it up.
The first 3 games are nice, bro. You want to talk about cupcakes?
Cupcakes. Well, that's their three. That's their 3 non-conference games. They're not the first 3 games, but
then it stretches just
yeah. So yikes. So this isn't the actual schedule. They don't have dates on them yet. The SEC hasn't released their schedule yet, but so they're going to open the season with Old Dominion. That's a dub, right? Yeah. We're good. We're going to beat Akron in mid-September. That's fine. You're going to beat Wofford the second to last season of the game of season. That might be their only 3. Oh, and Vanderbilt. You're going to beat Vanderbilt. So that might be your only 4 guaranteed wins of the season. The rest of your schedule is at Clemson, at Alabama, at Kentucky, at Oklahoma, LSU, Ole Miss, Missouri, Texas A&M.
Yikes! Oh my Lord! I thought this year was rough.
I mean, you look at that schedule. Best case scenario is what, 7-5?
Yeah. Listen, if we don't fix that line, there is no best case.
Scenario. Right.
There is no. We're right back to where we were at, if not worse.
Right.
Oh, that's rough. I mean, there could be a lot of, changing of the guard over there with guys. Obviously, LSU, they're losing quarterback, wide receiver. There'll be a difference. We might have a shot depending on what comes in. But, man, looking at it now, it doesn't look enticing going into it next year. Whew.
No. All right, so let's look at some guys that could potentially be on the roster next year. Portaling in, if you will. Purdue wide receiver Abdur Rahman Yassin has an offer. He was a 4-star in the 2020 class.
Okay.
Another wide receiver, 2 wide receivers set up visits today. Coastal Carolina wide receiver Jared Brown.
Okay.
And Louisiana Tech wide receiver Cyrus Allen, both scheduled to come in.
Speed, now, those are speed guys.
Those are speed guys.
Yeah. I like Brown. Yeah, I like Brown. Brown was great. Not last year so much, but I believe it was his sophomore season when Grayson McCall was like the last real good year of it was Sam Pickney and Brown. Like those 2 guys together, man, they were good. He's got a chance. This year it was 3 different QBs for Carolina, so I don't really know how well he did. But yeah, Brown is a dude I like, and I know Cyrus Allen's getting talked about a lot by a few teams. So,
one that we think we're probably going to get right is Vanderbilt wide receiver Jaden McGowan. This is your guy, right? Yeah. Talk to me, Nino.
Listen, he's a Swiss Army knife. He's great on special teams, which obviously we're going to need with guys that we're leaving. He can play in the slot. He can play outside. So this is a guy that we can move around to fit where we need to. I like him a lot. 800 yards in 2 seasons over there at Vanderbilt. Listen, and he wasn't the main option. So 800 yards in 2 years, I'll take that. I think over here it could be a nice compliment to a guy. He ain't the guy, but he would be a good 2 for us.
A nice complimentary back, potentially. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Miami Hurricane running back Don Chaney Jr.
Yes. I spoke to you in the green room about this gentleman. I like him a lot. He coming in out of high school, he was getting that Marlon Mack comp. Like he's got that vibe. Good pass catcher. He's also, good in between tackles, knows how to get low pad level. Listen, he wasn't the main guy. He had I think 100 carries, close to 500 yards, and he found the end zone a few times. I'll take that. All right. Like he was like the 3rd guy. It was Franklin and it was Paris over there, and he was like the 3rd or 4th guy. So I'll take that production in a small sample size. Like I said to you before, I think he'd be a great compliment to Mario Anderson.
Couple of DBs set to visit. One, Kansas State's Will Lee. I don't know a whole lot about Mr. Lee there.
Nope, me either.
But one that you are really fond of is the brother of freshman sensation Gerald Kilgore from Tennessee Tech has an offer and a visit. You got to think this one gets done, right?
Yeah, this is all but done. And I'm in conversations with I speak to the father and some of the family there, and like I said, I told you guys I had a feeling it was coming, and he starts laughing at me, but like I think it's all but a done deal. He's going through the steps, and seeing what he gets for office. But I think he's coming here. Play with his brother. He was a quarterback, mind you. You want to talk about pure athlete? He was a QB recruited at Tennessee Tech and switched mid-season and dominated as a safety. Had multiple pass breakups. I think he had 30+ tackles, 28 of them solo. Like he's a dude. You put the kill goals together in that secondary. Watch out.
Looking forward to it. A tight end from your neck of the woods.
Yeah, huh?
From Harvard, Tyler Neville.
Yeah, listen, they don't leave unless they're looking for better. The grass is always greener on the other side. He didn't get many receptions.
Well,
the
thing with the Ivy League guys is they can only play 4 years.
Yes.
So if they want to keep playing football, they got to go. So that's why you see like every Yale player that's not going to the NFL or Princeton, Jalen Travis, all those guys, they're in the portal because they want to keep playing football. They're not ready for the NFL, but they want to keep playing football. So they have to leave the Ivy.
Yeah,
and that's why Neville ends up in the portal.
6'4", 235. He's kind of reminds me of like a Des Bryant type guy. Like he's not so much that like a Musgrave kind of like, you know, they like that athletic tight end. Like, yeah, I think he had 25 or 24 receptions this year, close to like 250 yards. I think he found the end zone a few times. Yeah, 4 times. So not bad. We need tight ends. We're going to lose 2 of them. So
we're only going to lose 1.
Simon's back.
We're going to talk about that in a second.
Okay.
Finally, coming up on the 14th, Southern Miss offensive lineman Jaquan Scott going to be in for a visit. This man's got a lot of offers out there, a lot of SEC offers, Auburn, Ole Miss, all these have offered, but we got to visit. So that's got to count for something here.
Step in the right direction.
And he's from my hometown. Played his high school ball probably about 2 or 3 miles from my house here at Davidson High School in Mobile. He's a very versatile offensive lineman for Southern Miss. Can play offensive tackle, can play guard, probably can't play center. Not everybody can play center, right? We saw that this year.
Look at Nick. Gagaluo. He tried a few times. It didn't work out too well for him.
But yeah, so we'll see how that goes, but that'd be a pretty good addition there. And he's been blocking up front for Frank Gore Jr. now for the past 2 or 3 seasons. So,
hey, listen, he did well with Frank. Frank, the only thing they had was Frank, and he knew how to protect Frank. So and get lanes for him. So I'll take it. Like, you know, we got a small guy, Mario. It'll bottle up behind him and follow him right out the hole. So I'm with it. Let's talk positivity. Let's talk about some recruitment and coaching news.
Yep. So I didn't have much in the way of recruiting news here, but this is more roster news.
Okay.
No coaching news either. I just kind of put that as a catch-all there in the headline, but we really only had roster news this week, and the lead was Xavier Leggett. He's going to be down here at the Senior Bowl. We're going to get to see that that battery is going to continue, him and Spencer Rattler, because they'll be on the same team at the Senior Bowl. So we'll get to see them throwing the ball to each other in practice, in the game, hopefully in the game itself as well. So Leggett's going to be down here at the Senior Bowl and should hopefully continue his ascent into at least maybe a 2nd or 3rd round draft pick. I believe that's where he's ultimately going to end up.
If he doesn't, it's a disservice to him. Like he deserves to be there. I believe he put on. Man, he was so dominant against SEC competition. If that doesn't, speak for itself.
And he's going to test well too. So.
Yeah, a guy that big is not supposed to be that fast.
Right. So I kind of alluded to it earlier, but it's not official yet. But there is a rumor, very strong rumor, I should say, that Mario Anderson very close to inking an NIL deal, and he's going to stay in Columbia at least one more season. I know he has a Hula Bowl invitation, but the word is that he will be back in Columbia next season as RB1.
I'm pretty sure Kilgore signed an NIL deal with
the Garnet Trust. Yes.
Yes, there's like 2 or 3 gentlemen that signed. So I saw that. I was like, okay, I don't got to worry about him going anywhere.
Right. Kai Kroger, the punter. Mitch Jeter left. Kroger's like, nope, I'm staying. I'll be back next year. So that's good. One of the rare few positives we've had the last couple of games of the season. Probably the biggest name back next year. Well, I didn't put him in there, but Tonka Hemingway and TJ Sanders both coming back. And like Mario Anderson, very distinct possibility that Boogie Huntley is going to join his two frontline teammates, and they're going to get the whole band back together for the 2024 season. Boogie, Taka, and TJ Sanders all back up front.
Yo, that is huge if we can get all three of them guys back next year, because to start all over with an experience where they were so bad, like with pressure this year, like you need that. You need some kind of, you don't want to stop, all green on the line right off the rip. So I would love it. When I saw Tonka coming back, I was gassed. Get him in that heavy package, week 1. All right.
Joshua Simon is coming back. Alluded to it earlier. He should start the season tight end 1. Maybe the guy from Florida, Nicholas. I can't remember how to pronounce his last name. Will contribute a little bit more next year, along with some of the younger guys. Maybe a transfer as well at the tight end position.
They hit two transfers last year at the tight end position. I'll take that. Okay.
Mentioned that Mitch Jeter's gone. Alex Herrera is the other kicker on the roster. Said he'll be back for whatever that's worth. Guy we're going to talk about a little bit more later, but Bam Martin Scott, a guy who really didn't start contributing heavily until the back half of the season. He's going to try to continue to capitalize on that positive momentum. He's going to come back for a 6th year next year.
I got to think that someone sat him down and says, hey, what's your plan? Right? Because they had to like what they see in the last 4 or 5 weeks down the stretch. I mean, he was tied for, I think, snap count lead in linebacker group for the last 3 weeks. So like, and he was producing, like he was up there every week with Debo. So it's like someone had to say, are you trying to go somewhere? Are you going to accept some kind of thing? You want to come back one more year and see what you got? You're probably going to be able to get you in a starting role, depending on what happens in the portal, but we'll definitely get you more snaps than you had last year, and you would be a leader in this locker room. And hey, he decided to come back. I'm with it.
Before I get to this last sad stat, before we get to our award category, is there any other like upperclassmen players that we're still like maybe worried about or waiting on, whether they go to the NFL or whatever? Like, I guess Debo Williams would be one that could feasibly still come back.
He's coming, right? He should come back, right? Like,
I think so.
I haven't heard anything about him, like no Shrine Bowl, nothing like that.
Right. Well, I know Marcellus Dial is going to the Shrine Bowl. I didn't put that on here, but he did accept that.
Yeah.
I expect O'Donnell Fortune to be back next year.
He needs to.
Right. That's a place that they haven't really talked about in the portal that they probably need to hit.
Hey, well, is Spalding coming back?
I have no idea.
He'd be a 6th year, right? There's be
a
5th year. It'd be a 5th year for him. But Banks is gone, so it only leaves you Emery Floyd. Yikes!
And well, you have Judge Collier who got some snaps there as well. So
thin, very, very thin.
Yeah, that's that's definitely a spot they need to hit. Elksness was the tight end that transferred from Florida. His name I couldn't remember earlier.
Oh yeah, Nick Elksness.
Elksness. Yeah.
They also have Connor Cox, right? Or did he? Is he? I'm pretty sure he's still on the roster.
Yeah, he's still there.
All right.
I don't know that he caught a ball.
No, I don't even think he took a snap, but he's there. So it's a body, right?
Right. Last thing before we move on to our season awards. We're talking about the lack of receivers. If we're not counting Luke Doty as a wide receiver, and we should, to be honest, we should, because he's a wide receiver. He's not a quarterback anymore.
How many receptions do you have? 25 this year?
He's probably still his yardage total would probably still put him second on this list.
He probably has more than Harbor, actually.
But returning from players that are just pure wide receivers that we know of, these are the only players who have returning receiving yardage stats. Nick Harbor has 195. Tyshawn Russell has 81. Peyton Mangrum has 31. Those are the only 3 wide receivers that will be on the roster next year who have receiving yardage, excluding Luke Doty and running backs.
I would love Russell to get some time next year.
Yes.
He looked really good in that last game, right? I mean, he only had one reception, but I think he played in 40-something% of the snaps, which is career high. And so far, I think it's the most he had all season. So I would like to see him get a little bit more work. Is Eddie Lewis gone? What happened?
He's a 6-year player.
I know he came from Memphis. I wasn't sure if he had
I have to assume that his eligibility is running low.
Okay.
If not. I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea who has eligibility left and who doesn't.
Yeah.
We didn't mention Juju McDowell in the running backs, by the way, coming back next year. So
is he coming back?
I haven't seen his name in the portal either. So he's only a third-year player. So there's no way he's declaring for the draft, right? So
no, but you have to think that DJ has got to take that role, right? Like,
sure.
If you're looking at pure pedigree, I mean, pure talent, pure prospect come in, DJ's got a higher, I think he's got a higher.
But I mean, you've also got the other guy who we kind of talked about that didn't take a snap. Plus, you've got potentially the Daniel Hill, if he commits at running back next year coming in. The thing is, though, that as they showed this year, they can't have enough of these guys. Hell, they were down to what they. Basically down to one healthy running back against Clemson if you count concussed Mario Anderson.
Yeah, they went and got a guy. What was it? That had a guy that had like 3 snaps. I think he was working in the campus store. Yeah. You had no idea who he was, and you were like, I don't even have him on my depth chart.
Who's this guy, right? Yeah. So getting depth at running back, at least one out of the portal, probably for the best.
I agree. All right, let's go to round us out. We'll go season awards here. Offensive MVP. Who you got?
I went back and forth here, and I know who you have. I ultimately came back to Spencer Rattler because because the show has to start and stop with the quarterback, right? And if he has anything of an offensive line at all this year, this is even up for debate.
No, he would have dominated that.
Yeah, he would have obliterated records at the school and everything else if he had any time to throw the football. So that's how I ultimately came up with Spencer Rattler. But I have no problem with the guy that you came up with.
Yeah, I took Leggett. I feel like nobody thought he was going to be the guy. Juice Wells goes down, week 1, and we're like, okay, what are we going to do? Yes, Rattler was a catalyst to this offense, but somebody had to be on the back end of it, and that was Leggett. And if you look at it, there were a lot of plays where if it wasn't for Leggett's athleticism and speed, they probably wouldn't have scored or been able to push the ball downfield like they did. I think he was, a ray of sunshine in a really rainy season for the Gamecocks. So for that reason, and I didn't want to be chalk, and have the same guy. I think for that reason, both of those guys deserve it, though. So, let's talk defensive MVP.
Well, we ended up chalk here, right? Because there really wasn't a whole lot of options here, right? It was Debo Williams, the linebacker. I mean, especially in the back half of the season, maybe no player on the entire team played better than Debo Williams did in the back half of the season. Just was their leading tackler. He's the undisputed leader on that defense.
Yeah.
And he just plays 100 miles an hour. Does he get out of place sometimes? Sure. But he more than makes up for it with his tackling ability and his ability to diagnose and get in place quickly. To me, it was Debo Williams, and it wasn't close.
Yeah, I'm not going to reiterate everything you just said. He's the same guy for me. I was pounding the table for him the last 5-6 weeks down the stretch there. If they had a green dot, he'd be the guy
he'd have it.
Yeah, he's that. He is a next level player. Whether he's a starter right away or he works his way on, he can definitely play on Sundays. Just his knowledge and his way he processes information on the field is just A1. I think he, like I said, he was a bright spot in a rainy season for the Gamecocks. Top impact transfer.
I ended up, and I like the one you went with too, but I ended up with Mario Anderson just because I thought he had more impact plays.
Okay.
On the season than the others, didn't become the full starter till what, week 5?
Yes.
And silly. His game emerged as we went along, as he became more of a factor in the passing game, slowly got better in pass pro as we went through. But he is so well balanced running the football. He's another one that he goes for over 1,000 on the ground this year if he's not having to break tackles 3 yards in the backfield every other play.
They started in week 1. He gets 1,000 yards with these, so like no problem. I love it because D2 guy coming in, taking over the backfield, and just running with it. I had no problem with who you had, but for me it was Trey Knox. Got that second team All SEC, right? Like they produced multiple weeks. I said to you, and it was surprising. He was the best pass pro protector on that line multiple weeks. And then down the stretch, when the receivers all got hurt and there was nobody else to go to, Trey Knox got out there, got you 5 for 60, 4 for 40 and a touchdown. He just always seemed to be there. His motor never stops. He's always worked. He's that guy that just always does what he has to do for the team. And I think, just for a portal guy, coming in and just grabbing the bull by the horns there, losing Bell and him just filling that role, for me, he was, that portal guy.
If he can stay healthy, Trey Knox is going to be a guy that you're going to look at 8 years from now and be like, hey, that guy's still in the NFL, man.
Yep.
Just because he's going to be he's never going to be a number 1 in the NFL, but he's going to be a solid number 2, like you said, because he blocks his ass off.
Yep.
He does enough in the passing game, and he's got some athleticism. I'm not saying, because he's a former wide receiver. So, I mean, he's not a dead stick out there. I mean, he's an athletic player. But I think he's going to play in the NFL a long time. I like Trey Knox, and I think he's probably going to be a 5th, 6th round pick in this draft.
Hey, that's fine. Tight ends take a little bit to produce in the NFL. It's usually like a 2-3 year window. Everybody's excited because the last 2 years the tight ends have done it year 1. But on the norm, it's usually a couple year window. And I think him, hey, who knows? In the right situation, look at Tommy Tremble starting for Carolina, right? Like, I think Trey Knox is better than Tommy Tremble. So in the right situation, the right team, he could be a starter. Or he could be, like you said, a really good 2 in the red zone that's a threat, or a guy that's in there with the opportunity because he can block his ass off. And you just never know, especially in play action. All right. Freshman of the year. It's easy to say. I'm just going to let you talk about it.
Yeah, this was another easy one here. It's Jalen Kilgore. I'll let you. This has been your guy from week 1. I know you got his stats pulled up right in front of you, so I'm just going to let you run them numbers off.
Listen, Kilgore has been an absolute machine, and you and I, right? The problem was we weren't really sure that they were going to let this kid like go off, right? You were like, freshman, I don't really know. Well, when they had no choice, he just performed. Like 46. He had 76 tackles as a true freshman, 46 solo. Right, he had a pick, 5 pass defenses, and he had 1.5 tackles for loss. So the kid could play in the box. The problem was down the stretch, they were putting him in a position to just not succeed, right? Like,
and that changed the last couple of games of the season, right? Against Kentucky and against Clemson, when they switched to that 4-2-5 defense. I mean, not switched away from the 4-2-5 and went to that 3-3-5 defense.
Yes.
And you start, hey, we've got 3 guys that safety that are all very versatile, but instead of putting them out there to fail, let's put them out there to succeed. And so you managed to get Eamon Wari, DQ Smith, and Jalen Kilgore all in positions to succeed, and that was very helpful. It also helped the corners out a lot as well down the stretch, and then that's what allowed. We talked about some of the other bad Mark Scott getting on the field more. You put Stone Blanton in more positions to succeed. Unfortunately, we couldn't get your guy Pup Howard on the field a little bit more. We'll see how that goes into next year as well.
Hey, he led the team in tackles, I think, 3 out of the first 7 weeks of the season, right? And then injuries happened, and they kind of had to just pretty much put a finger to plug a hole for a bleeding sieve, and he got stuck in the slot. And that's just not his position. Like, it's just not where he's better being in the safety position where he can be, knock the snot out of you, be a cover guy as a backup, not being the main guy, on the line. So, and he can get in the backfield and cause havoc. I just think he's got a very, very promising future, especially if they bring his brother over. This isn't what I was thinking. I didn't know how to word it, so I went with Surprise Player of the Year award. My guy is on there, but I got another guy like that I could have came up with, but ultimately, and we talked about him coming back, so it all works out, full circle. I went with Bam Scott Martin, right? Down the stretch, they needed a guy who didn't really get a lot of playing time as the last 2 years, for that matter. Threw him in the fire, and this dude just kind of
He
rose.
gave him the juice, man. He
Yeah.
gave him that a jolt that they didn't have,
Mm-hmm.
and the energy from Debo Williams fed into Bam Martin Scott, or they fed each other, and it just changed that linebacking room a lot towards the end of the season. I'm glad he's coming back. So like I said, he wasn't ready for the NFL, but another year to get some tape out there, maybe he ends up, as a potential NFL player. I like Bam Martin Scott. I liked your call here as a guy who was a surprise that, kind of took over.
Yeah, I love it. Like you said, I think the vibe of him and Debo together, like they kind of said, listen, everybody's done. We ain't done. We ain't going out like that. And they were the dudes for that defense down the stretch. All right, who's your guy?
I went with Xavier Legette because, I mean, like we mentioned, he became the guy, but he wasn't expected to be the guy. The man had one game in his entire career through 4 seasons before this year where he did anything at all. Right. And that was the Gator Bowl last year where he caught like 7 balls. Yeah. Right. So before that, he was nothing. And then his 5th year, he explodes. He's a height, weight, speed guy for sure. That's going to fly in the NFL. We've talked about that. I had him on our watch list over at Draft Countdown because I thought just special teams alone, this cat's going to be in the NFL, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And now I think he's got a chance to not only special teams will keep him in the league, but he has a chance to be an impact wide receiver early as an NFL player now. And just he went over became only the 5th Gamecock in history to go over 1,000 yards as a receiver. So yeah, that was. I mean, he was a surprise to me in that aspect. The potential was always there. He just never did anything.
Yeah, no, I'm with it. And my other surprise was in the negative, and that was Pop Howard. I was surprised. Okay. I thought they would try a way to manifest snaps for him. And I understand, and you made a valid point. Maybe he's just not ready. Maybe he's not mentally at that level where he's aware of everything that's going on, where, like his mistake on the field is a big flaw. And it's not just like, oh, you missed a tackle. No, you missed an assignment, therefore that guy went for 40. You know what I'm saying? So maybe he's not there yet. But that could be with only being 18, and maybe this offseason it'll change. But I really thought he was going to be a guy kind of bam.
You can hide youth in a lot of places. Linebacker's not really one of them. Offensive line's not one of them. Like wide receiver, like Nick Harvard is going to get a lot of leeway because he's 6'5", 240 and runs probably in the 4.3 1.
Yeah.
That stuff right there buys you a lot of patience.
Yep.
Like you said, if you're a linebacker and you're out there blowing assignments and a tight end runs right by you down the seam and you give him a 35-yard gainer,
you're out.
DC is going to pull you off that field real quick, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see how his development goes. That'll be definitely something worth monitoring in the spring and see where his development is. Because, as we've seen here, the guys that he's competing for snaps with, they ain't going nowhere.
No, that's
right.
They're coming right back.
We assume anyway that Debo Williams will be back, Stone Blanton will be back, we know Bam Martin Scott's going to be back, plus some other guys you're going to bring in. They'll probably bring in a portal guy or so. Absolutely. So he's going to have to earn his way onto the field, or hell, maybe he's portaling out after the spring.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. He is definitely a name that I'm watching for sure because a lot of potential. Didn't seem like the potential was ready to pop this season. So we'll have to see what happens. All right, hey, this was somewhat positive. This
So,
episode, we had a good time with it. We weren't, negative Nancy's the whole episode. We did that a lot of the season. We beat that horse. But
yeah.
This was year 1 of the Garnet Roost. I think it was a success. I'm excited to dibble and dabble in the off season. We'll have some special episodes. Obviously, on the 20th, we'll have the sign-in day episode, and then as things pop up, we'll talk more. But I think in a year 2 of the Garnet Roost, we'll be ready to grab the bull by the horns, spurs up, and lock and load him.
Yeah, we'll definitely do something around the Senior Bowl because you're going to be here. I think you're going to be here anyway. I'll be here for sure, obviously. So we'll definitely have something around Spencer Rattler and Xavier Leggett, and maybe they end up with somebody else. Maybe Trey Knox ends up getting a later invite down the road. We'll see. But as far as that goes, we'll have definitely, like I said, we'll have the signing day show in 2 weeks. We'll be off next week, and then we'll probably, once the portal wraps up, maybe we'll do a portal wrap up show, and then definitely in spring football, right? We'll have a couple of or at least one show wrapping up the spring, and then we'll get ready over the summer and come back at you hot and heavy.
Absolutely, it's been a blast. Like I said, year 1. I'm Nino Brown. Brian Bosage, Deep Fried Draft. This is CFB Nation. You have watched Garnet Roost, and it has been a blast. Year 1. We will be back.